Hello and welcome. This is Best Foot Forward Shoes, the podcast, and this is episode number 52. Thank you so much to everybody who is watching us either on YouTube or if you're listening to us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. I really, really do appreciate it. We're very, very close to 6,000 subscribers on YouTube, and if you are just listening to us, I would heavily recommend going on the YouTube and checking this one out, because today we are going to be chatting about the top 10 releases from Adidas in 2025. And today, with me to chat about it is a man that you may know. He has a podcast himself with a couple of friends of the podcast, Prozac and Erkan Hassan, Life of a Broski. His name is Scott. He is _sneaker teacher on Instagram. Wealth of knowledge, as you can see by the collection behind him. He's definitely got a fair few sneakers, and he is a Man United fan, but we won't hold that against him today. And we're very appreciative of him to come and chat about Adidas in a specific way this year. I know he's got a lot of knowledge about it, so thank you very much for jumping on today, Scott. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. Absolute pleasure. Like I say, it's early morning over here,
Yes.
so the coffee's running. But yeah, it's good. And excited to talk about this because, as you may be aware if you've listened to Erkan in particular, not the biggest Adidas fan. And as my co-host, kind of run into a bit of a brick wall when we bring up the three stripes. So it's going to be nice to have a bit of an elongated conversation about this.
Yeah, and you have you have knowledge not only just about Adidas. You're not just I know there are people in the world who are purely Adidas heads. Like they're terrace culture through and through. All they wear is low top football boots or football trainers. Like that's all they wear. But you have a knowledge. You have a lot of different interests. Interested in Saucony. What kind of, I suppose, as an overall level, what was the kind of the brand that I suppose got you into sneakers in the first place?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say if you see the boxes behind me, there's Adidas, there's Saucony, there's numerous Nikes, New Balance, you name it. I like everything. I'm not kind of picky, but it was Adidas that kind of drew me in. Obviously, what I find interesting about the three stripes and other brands, to be fair, is that we come at it from very different cultural differences. So, for example, the way that the UK sees Adidas compared to how you might see Adidas, and you might see this with kind of when we get into it in a bit, to be very different. And yeah, with it, when I kind of was growing up, I used to work in what we call kind of menswear over here. So it was very much, we used to sell Stone Island, CP Company, Lacoste, Armani. And because of the brands that we sold, we attracted a very kind of specific demographic. And most of those were football guys. So growing up, I very much, all I did was play football. That was my life. I just played. So I lived in tracksuits, football shirts, and AstroTurf trainers. I had no interest in sneakers or kind of, fashion of any description. But I kind of got this job in this little place and thought, let's go for it.
Yeah.
And I saw these guys coming in and the way they were dressed, kind of in all, say, Stone Island and this. And then it was the shoes that got clocked, and they were wearing all of these kind of Hamburgs and handball specials and Sambas and Gazelles and all of these colorways that I'd never seen before. And they spoke about them whenever you kind of asked them. And there's me kind of trying to flog all this gear to them. So you're having these conversations and trying to butter them up a little bit. And they just spoke so passionately about all these shoes. Yeah. And I was there like, what is this? And then thought, I've got to kind of up my game here. I'm working in this space. I need to buy some. So I started looking, and I remember just finding this store called Size and looking at what they had and some of the releases. Yeah. I think most people have heard of them now, especially when it comes to Adidas, because they've really kind of taken over a lot of that space in the UK. And I just remember kind of buying these Hamburgs, these gum sole cream red stripe Hamburgs, and I just loved them. I fell in love with them, and because of that, then I was like, oh, I wonder what else there is. And then the Island series came up with the Jamaicas and the Tahitis, and I was like, oh, right. And I just ended up spending basically all my paychecks on these Adidas sneakers.
Yep.
And it was only as I stayed there for a good few years, and as I was going, we had these young guys come in, and all of a sudden you started having Yeezy hype kind of explode.
Yeah.
And all of these young guys were coming in and they were talking about Yeezys and Jordans. And I was like, look, I've got my Adidas. I don't need these. And it was them that kind of steered me and educated me towards kind of other brands, and just kind of fell in love with everything. But it was very much Adidas and the terrace shoes that really did kind of make me kind of fall in love with and kind of started getting me collecting sneakers and looking at it in a very different light.
And you not only collect and wear your sneakers, you talk about them too. The Tripled Up podcast, which was the Doubled Up podcast. I've kind of heard the creation story of that podcast, but you kind of transitioned into being a twosome into a threesome, and I suppose that transition can throw some people off. And I suppose kind of, if you're watching this, you're probably interested in sneakers and also podcasts. So give us a little bit of an insight, I suppose, around how you co-created that podcast and then how you transitioned into, expanding your fan base with adding an extra person.
Yeah, I mean, it was a strange one. It was a kind of a lockdown baby, and basically we were sat knocking around and not really doing much. And I think a lot of people during that COVID period spent a lot of money on sneakers. When we talk about that period, Dunks were massive, Jordans were massive. Everybody was just buying everything because they could, and hype just kind of exploded. And it's a period that a lot of people actually got into sneakers in the first place because, everyone sat at home on their phones and delving into different kind of areas. But I used to just post up pictures, kind of shoes that I kind of bought, as kind of we all did at that point. And I posted up a picture of this Adidas pair, the ZX 8000 Hanami. Beautiful pink pair based around the cherry blossom kind of season in Japan. Lovely box. Open it up. It's got the details and everything on it, just ridiculous. And I kind of got very lucky in getting this shoe through an end raffle, which doesn't happen ever. Got that shoe and put a picture up, and this random guy, SW Sneakers, kind of messaged me about them and said, I've got them as well and I love them. And we started talking, and out of nowhere he basically said, thinking about us starting up a podcast about sneakers.
Yeah.
You fancy doing it? And I was like, why not?
Yeah.
I genuinely didn't know his name, didn't know who he was. And we hopped on this call, and we kind of set up the Doubled Up podcast, where we kind of saw this space where there really wasn't many UK creators at the time that were doing, in particular, podcasts. There was a lot of YouTubers kind of sat doing it. We absolutely loved what Complex were doing at the time. So you had the Complex Sneakers podcast. You had numerous YouTube shows from them, where the dynamic was just amazing, where they just talk, they just have a bit of fun, and it was sneakers but not too serious. And we just started talking, and we started talking about everything. It wasn't just, most people were talking about Nike and Jordan. That was the big one, and Yeezys at the time. And we were quite far away from that. Matt in particular was so far away from Jordans. He was runners, he was New Balance, he was Adidas, he was Saucony, it was all these. And that's what we talked about. And then, we started getting guests on. And, kind of nearly 5 years later, we're still going. And as you said, we've kind of developed a bit as COVID left and the world returned to some normality. Life changes, people's situations change, and Matt was kind of like, I don't know if I can kind of keep doing this anymore. So we kind of had a bit of a reset, a bit of a think. And Erkin, we'd had Prozac on as a guest multiple times, and then Erkin was a listener, and Erkin kind of messaged me when we kind of announced that the podcast was ending, and he was like, I can't believe it. Like, it's been 4 years. Like, you can't end it now. We're 217 episodes in now, and it was just, he was there like, I don't know. And I thought, well, let's change it. Let's change it up. Let's use Erkin's skills. Let's use Prozac's skills, and kind of incorporate into what we're doing. And the Tripled Up podcast was born, and it's shifted a bit. It's a different dynamic, as it would be. And the conversation, as I kind of mentioned, like me and Matt we spoke about every brand really other than Nike, because we like Nike and we loved what Nike were doing, but it was never our baby. That was never something that we kind of looked at in that way. But obviously Erkin, anyone that kind of has listened to Erkin or watched any of Erkin's content, he is a massive Nike head. In fact, he has a bit of a reputation of really disliking Adidas. Prozac less so. Prozac's definitely a more diverse individual when it comes to his collecting. But Yeah, it's been good. I mean, the guests we've had on over the years have been incredible. People like Lorenz OG.
Hmm.
We've had him on multiple times. Really good friend of the podcast. As of recording, actually, his Beams Umbro drop is
Yeah,
happening in Tokyo, which
yeah,
is
that's
incredible. And I'm
crazy.
very annoyed that it's a Japan exclusive
Hmm.
because I'm not going to be able to get my hands on that. Yeah, people like Prozek, people like Jacques Slade,
Mm.
if anybody's kind of want to go into the YouTube space. And yeah, we've been really fortunate that, like I say, we've been doing this for, well, I've been doing this for, yeah, like I
Hmm.
say, it's nearly 5 years now. And it's just
Wow.
good fun. We don't take it too seriously. We love sneakers. We love talking about that. And yeah, this is fun. It's
Hmm.
meant to be fun. We're
It
not going to
is.
sit there and deeply analyze and kind of, you
Hmm.
know, do all this. It's just,
Yeah.
we do it because we love it and we're here because we enjoy what we do. Let's just have a bit of fun with it. Let's enjoy it and
Mm.
talk to people that are like-minded. And, you know, clearly people like listening to it because we're still here.
Mm.
So, yeah, let's see.
You definitely, yeah, you definitely take some of the Mickey. I don't know if that's just an Australian expression, but you take the kind of you poke fun at some of the weirder sneakers, especially some more recent ones such as the Air Max Muse. If you if you
Oh,
aren't aware of what the Air Max
yeah.
Muse is, just go and Google it. I actually, funnily enough, I did the latest one that you guys were talking about, which was the Air Max Muse that had the little alien on top of it with the
The alien. Yeah,
really
yeah, yeah.
bright colorways, not the Knowles one. But the other one,
No.
I actually asked someone who owns a sneaker store, did these sell very well? And they said, actually, the silver and green ones sold really well. They almost sold out. But the other ones, the gold, red, and blue ones they didn't sell one. So I'm like, oh, yeah, kind of surprises me. But also,
They,
when they say they almost sold out, how much stock did you really have, like, of this shoe? It's like,
yeah.
it's such a wild shoe. So,
Yeah, that Muse. I don't know what they're doing with that model
mhm,
because it's not a bad model, but for whatever reason they really really hate it. And
yeah,
the Windows 10 is the one in the with the little alien, and like I say,
yeah.
it's an absolute mad one of a shoe. And yeah, we're not. We have friends that work with brands. We have friends that are brands.
Mm.
But if we like something, we'll say it. If we
Mm.
dislike it, we'll say it. We're not going to
Yeah,
beat
yeah,
around the
yeah.
bush and like say if they're bad. And Nike,
Hmm.
we have said recently, they've done really well this year. Like I don't think there's any kind of real question about that. But also, they have the longest list of
Mm.
rubbish shoes
Yeah,
you could humanly make this year.
yeah,
It
yeah,
almost balances it out. They're so bad. And like I say,
yeah,
if you haven't seen the Knowles Muse or the Windows 10
yeah,
Muse, go and do it and go and clean your internet browser
yeah,
afterwards because it's
yeah,
absolutely shocking.
yeah. Delete those cookies because you don't want to be
Yeah.
recommended those. Like something's wrong if you're getting recommended those in your Instagram ads, or yeah. I mean, I pretty much get Instagram, sneakers ads all the time, but. I wanted to get a little bit more on topic today, and of course, you've joined us all the way from the UK. Early morning for you. It's a Friday. We are getting, very busy with the end of the year. Christmas is coming, and that kind of means that we're winding down, so to speak. Just chatting about some of the sneakers that have come so far this year, and today we're going to be, as I said before, talking about Adidas. And Scott, I wanted to start off with a little bit of an honourable mention because there's only 10 spots, and I feel like this one, which we're going to show right now, which is the Adidas Predator Mega Ride. It's a shoe that I kind of had a little bit of knowledge about, but I just love it. It obviously is inspired, kind of has ties to football boots. It has a similar sort of vein in terms of the shiny outer, but obviously it doesn't have the studs or anything like that. So you couldn't wear these on the pitch. But I really love this Mega Ride, and I know that you had a similar feeling about the Kith collaboration on the Mega Ride. So I know this is an honorable mention, and we're not going to chat about it too much. But what did you think about this one first of all?
Yeah, I was quite surprised at the popularity of it, if I'm
Mm.
honest, because as I said, like it's weird. It goes full circle. Growing up, I lived in tracksuits, I lived in AstroTurf shoes and football shirts, and I got bullied relentlessly because I didn't wear what everyone else was wearing.
Yeah.
And it's funny because that's now what everyone's wearing. Everyone's
Hmm.
wearing tracksuits, everyone's wearing football shirts, and everyone's
Mm.
wearing things that look like football boots. And when this came out, I thought, well, it's just going to be a flop. They've done similar in years gone, and it hasn't sold. But these have really flown, and they've done really well here. And the Kith one in particular, that came really early on in the year, the kind of the green suede pair. Kith colorways and collaborations are just always kind of on point anyway. But they were excellent, and it was a pair that I was quite gutted that I didn't get. Looking back on, and I think the Mega Rides, it's just done really well, and Adidas have really managed to straddle the football lifestyle wear really, really well. I think better than Nike, because all Nike's done is basically rehash the total 90s. They've literally put an AstroTurf boot out, whereas Adidas have kind of tried to put them into the lifestyle space, and it's worked. It really has, and the Predator is such an iconic football boot silhouette, and that's the pair that I wore growing up. So I see that and I go, it's like nostalgia just draws me into it anyway. But as a kind of a mass market release, it's been really, really good, and I think it's something that is a testament to the strength of Adidas this year, that they have really managed to blend football, streetwear so well, while also kind of hitting this mass market. And I think the Mega Ride in particular is a really, really good kind of example of that.
Well, before we get into the good stuff, we're going to get a little bit into the bad stuff, just a little bit at the start. And the one that I wanted to first have a look at was the Clot Stan Smith. I'm going to call it the Espadrille. I do like the Gazelles that they did last year. They were very nice. I have one pair of those. But just the Stan Smith feels like a sacred shoe that you can't touch too much. I know that Brain Dead did a little bit of a collab on it last year as well, but I just felt like that was a little bit more subtle, despite being, they changed the laces and such, and they changed a bit of materials. But this is just feel like a full reworking, and I don't know. I know it's a classic colorway, but I just couldn't stand the way that these look with the Espadrille sole. I'm sorry to Edison Chen. He's done a lot of good stuff this year, but a lot of stuff hasn't hit, and this one I don't love.
Yeah, it's not the best. I don't see many people rocking it, and it's something that Adidas does a lot. They do give a lot of creative freedom to their collaborators, and I've discussed this before, where collaborators have jumped from Nike and done really good stuff with Nike, and everyone's loved it, and then they've gone to Adidas, and it's not that they've, that people are going, oh, they're at 3 stripes now, I won't buy it, which for some people is definitely the case, because it's very tribal in that sense. But basically, what they do is they give them so much creative freedom that it goes a bit wild, and it goes a bit too much. And they did this with Sean Wotherspoon as well. And Clot is an example. They've gone a bit wild. They've got the ones that have the lovely tassels on the back as well. They look like you're wearing a dress. I don't think anybody is asking for an Espadrille Stan Smith. Ever.
And they got the Superstars. They got the Superstars with that the ridge traction on the sole. They did they had a couple. One of them was really good, like the traditional looking Superstar with that upgraded sole. But then they had a New Year's pack, which is on sale right now. You can go pick that up for half price right now.
The black, because they did the all black
Chinese
one
New Year.
With, I don't mind them, to be fair. I think there's I can see people, especially in the UK, the Soho boys, as they've affectionately been described, that will pull off fits with this, and they will make them look good. That Espadrille, I've just never seen anyone mention it, want to wear it. It's completely impractical. Espadrilles, I haven't seen anyone wear an Espadrille in 5+ years. It's just a weird one. They've done some good stuff, but they've done some bad stuff with Klopp.
And speaking of bad stuff, one of your picks was the Avavav, I think is the way to say it. The super is it the super finger? Was what it's called?
The super finger. Yeah. Any shoe that's called a super finger, watch out. I mean, you know what? What's kind of really annoying about this is the fact that the shoe itself, if you took it off, is actually not that bad. It actually, speaking of the shoe that really brought me in, and I am a sucker for it. If you put kind of like Sale and Red together, I do kind of fall in love with it, and that's what the underbit of this shoe is. The only problem is they've attached a massive rubber chicken foot type thing to the front of it. Like, it honestly, I don't know what they were thinking. And like I said, it's called the Super Finger. Like, if anything is called a super finger, run. Like,
run away.
Like, don't go near. Just don't go near. What is the name is awful, and the shoe itself. I don't know why anyone thought that that's what was needed on a shoe.
No,
it's being different for being different's sake, and it's rubbish. I can use much stronger words. It is appalling, and one that has stuck in my mind for such. When you mentioned the clot, I actually forgotten about them. Like they just had never even come into the thinking. This one has been etched into my brain as just awful.
Yeah,
because all I can think of is like Chicken Run.
Yeah,
like the kind of the old film. It's just really bad.
Yeah,
and it was quite expensive when it released. I'm pretty sure it was like nearly £200 as well.
It's a lot. Yeah.
It's so much.
And apparently that the removable part of that is actually supposed to be a handbag. Like I don't know if you can see that, but it's supposed to be a handbag. Just quickly, if you can see this one, this is the other collaboration between Adidas and Avav this year, which I think was called the Moon Rubber Mega Ride, which is just, I don't know if you've actually seen this shoe before, but it's pretty insane. Like, this one is also nuts. Like, they definitely are pushing the boundaries. Yeah.
When I kind of made my notes and we were kind of talking about the really bad ones, those were the two. And when I thought of the Super Finger first, and then I remembered, kind of the Mega Rides, which are, I don't know how to even describe them. They are insane. And the thing is, I just don't understand why. Yeah, why do you need a chicken foot looking handbag that attaches to your shoe to make it look like what? I'm a size 11.
Yeah,
like, I don't need anything to make them longer. Like, what? It's just crazy. BSTN was selling that shoe for £230.
Wow, which is roughly about $410 Australian, which is crazy. Anything that's that much, that's like almost the same as jellyfish, which. Spoiler alert, will feature on this list, but in the good part. So, yeah, it's crazy. We might as well move on to the good. And the first good that I have, which was number 10, was the West NYC Handball Special. Came out roughly around about June, May this year. And they came out also with an Adidas SL72. So it's kind of like a 2-pack. And man, to be honest, I just really like the colorway. I don't really know that much about West NYC. I just really love how cool they look. And honestly, I was kind of swayed by how awesome some of the photography around this shoe was, some of the promo images. Not only this one, but the whole pack with the SL72 was really cool. So I think this was a good, solid number 10 to start off with. What do you think about this one?
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think, again, this is one where the cultural differences and kind of the I say cultural difference is probably the wrong phrasing, but certainly the geographic differences. This shoe didn't really appear in the UK. Like, it wasn't one that we really saw anything about unless you kind of were really hunting through the Adidas pages. So when you kind of you mentioned this, I was quite pleasantly surprised because it's something really different. I still find the Handball Special a funny one because that shoe 2 years ago was a JD sale special. Like, you could pick it up for like £40. No one batted an eyelid, no one cared, and now everybody wants Handball Specials. But I really like what they did with this. I think the materials of it, it's so different, and I'm very happy when we get someone that kind of steps outside the box and kind of pushes the boundaries just enough. But I do really like the show. I think it's it's a good pick.
Do you think the love for the Special has kind of come from obviously the Sambas and Gazelles having a bit of a wave, and someone kind of wants something a little bit different? Or do you think it's more that Adidas are trying to continue to push a different model by giving, more models to more collaborators and pushing that, and then obviously going on to more of a general public releases? What do you think?
They've definitely focused this year on more mass market and more kind of broad releases. They haven't really focused too much on specialists like targeting the sneakerhead market. And I know you said kind of we're winding down, but it kind of feels like Adidas has been ramping up in the past couple of years. And I've in the past couple of years, past couple of months, I think my theory, and it's always been just kind of my personal brain theory kind of ticking along, but I've always thought like it feels as though a lot of the brands have just kind of been letting Nike do their thing, and Nike have been releasing release after release after release after release. Jordan, Nike, Air Max, like it's all coming, but there's so much that there's almost no point anyone else releasing anything because it just kind of gets lost. Even Nike releases are getting lost. Shattered backboards are sitting.
Yeah.
I picked mine up for just under £100. Like, shattered backboards. What's going on? And it kind of feels like they've almost been like, let's just let them punch themselves out. Let them kind of finish their Haribo and burn themselves out.
Yeah.
And then we'll come in towards the end and we'll kind of up our game. And it feels like that's the case because Nike releases have slowed down quite considerably, but Adidas have really ramped up their releases. And there seems to be more coming from like New Balance and Asics and stuff as well. So it feels that way. I think the thing with Adidas, and it was always the complaint of a few people, is that so many Adidas models are so similar to one another. And between a Gazelle or a Samba or a Handball Special, or if you go down into the archives and, we'll talk about some of the more niche pairs later, there's not much difference. And what everyone wants is everyone wants something that's different to the other person, but they also want something that will let them fit in. And I think Adidas's catalog, there's so many different pairs that still look very similar to one another that the Handball Special falls quite nicely, that everyone was wearing Gazelles, and then you've got those that are like, everyone's wearing Gazelles, I want something different. What about this one? This looks similar, but it's different. And they've released so many good colorways of that shoe that have been so consumable, whether it be kind of the earth tone palettes or the lovely pastel colors. And the teenage market in the UK is the teenage peak, the kind of the female teenage demographic has really snapped these up. And I think they've just they've played it really well in terms of their mass market and getting people to want, because only a couple of years ago all anyone wanted to wear was either Jordans or Dunks, and Adidas have basically gone, now see you later, and nobody is wearing Jordans anymore. You get the odd person wearing Dunks, but all anyone's wearing is Campuses, Handball Specials and Gazelles. In particular the platform Gazelle, I don't know if you've seen those, it's got like 3 different soles.
I have.
Everybody in my office is wearing them. Like everybody. It's a really big thing. So I think they've just done really well. They've marketed beautifully this year without. It's not for us. It's not for us that wants the niche shoes and the real special stuff. But just look at their quarter reports. Like they're absolutely dominating every other brand out there. Their strategy for this year has been spot on, and it's working. So. Who can we say?
I'm just sick and tired of people calling them the specials. Anyone who like knows me obviously knows I'm into sneakers, and they're always like kind of quizzing me on like, oh, what do you think about this one? What do you think about this one? I'm sure people who like sneakers can relate, and their friends always ask them, what do you think about this? And they're like, oh, what about this one? And I'm like, what's that one? And they're like, oh, it's the specials. And I'm like, no, it's not. It's not. I'm like, it's good, but don't call it the special.
I work in an office with middle-aged women, and they a lot of the time they'll come to me and say, I'm looking for this for my son or daughter, or I'm looking at buying these for myself. And specials is the one that I've heard a lot. But it does confuse certain people, because obviously they are the Handball Specials, but there is also the Adidas Special brand as well, where kind of it does.
We'll chat
But it
about
does
that.
confuse people slightly.
We will chat about that a little bit because there is one of those shoes coming up in the list.
Yeah.
But number 10 for you was a very recent one, the Hellstar Superstar, which we first saw at ComplexCon recently over the last couple of weeks. And they had a lot of buzz. Speaking to someone who, by the time this episode's out, you probably would have already seen the episode that I did talking with Mr. Aaron Diaz, Front Page Aaron, who we chatted about ComplexCon and his experience. And he said that the Hellstar had one of the longest lines. Their booth was insane, and this one kind of, I suppose it's a bit too big, too fat for me, a little bit too loud. But what did you think about this one?
Yeah, I mean, it's not one for me that I would personally wear, but I think looking at what the market wants at the moment, and again, I'm kind of looking at this from a very UK perspective, but I work with young people aged between 8 and 24, so I have a very broad range of experience that I talk to them and I see what they're wearing and what they want. And very much the 90s kind of grunge aesthetic is very in, and this shoe, like, I'm not the biggest kind of I say fan, but I don't have the biggest knowledge of Hellstar. Didn't really know who they were particularly, but seeing obviously all the hype around them, then I saw the shoe and I thought, you've done something to a superstar that stands out. It fits what everyone wants at the moment. And yeah, it is a newer release, and you'll probably see on here that quite a few of them are newer releases, and this is kind of goes back to what I was saying, is they've really ramped up their releases in the past few months rather than through earlier in the year.
Yeah.
But I just thought, this one's kind of had the mass market appeal. People really want it. I think it's good. I think both the white and the black pair, they're loud, they're different, but they really do fit the aesthetic that what the kids are wearing at the moment. And because of that, I can see why it appeals. So yeah, I thought a cheeky little one in at number 10. Not a personal kind of pick for me, but I think looking at it from a wider perspective, I think this deserves to be there.
Well, I think if you are a sneakerhead, especially in 2025, because of how many releases are, you have to have shoes that you appreciate but personally wouldn't pick up or wear. Because if we did that, if you picked up every single thing you liked, you literally would be sleeping in a shoebox because you wouldn't have a house. Like, it's almost impossible to try and pick up everything. And yeah, this is one that I can appreciate, but I probably wouldn't wear it and probably wouldn't either have a chance to pick it up because it was so exclusive. But there was a shoe that I definitely did pick up, which was the Adidas Lace Climacool. I wore them for about 9 days straight. Literally, I tried to do like a full wear test just to see, how the 3D printed material kind of worked. I specifically got the laced version because someone told me that the mock version without the laces was a little bit of different with the sizing. It was also very hard to get on feet because of the 3D printed material. Your socks would kind of get caught on them, and I didn't want to do that. So obviously the laced version allows you a little bit more ease of getting in. I wanted to kind of test how dirty it would get, how easy it would be to clean, and it actually was very easy to clean. I'm actually very surprised at how little amount of brushing I needed to do, although there is some dirt that obviously got really deep inside of the lattice structure. But overall, I was very impressed by these. And number 9, I think it was pretty good. There's already been really 2 colorways of these so far, the grey and the white. I was really impressed by them, and it was very comfortable. Probably as it gets a little bit hotter here in Australia over the next couple of months, you're going to be seeing me wear these a lot. And yeah, they definitely do live up to the hype, and I think they'll last for a very long time. So yeah, what did you think about not only the laced up version, but also the mock version of this?
Yeah, I think the 3D printing is something that obviously Adidas has been pushing for a while, and we look back at kind of the original 4D shoes, which I've got a pair and I wear them a lot. They're surprisingly robust. And I think the Climacourse was one that we saw quite a lot online. We saw a lot of people kind of getting seeded pairs and wearing them and doing tests and stuff. And it's not a pair that I don't think I've ever seen them out in the wild, so to speak. But it's something different. I think when we've had the foam runners, we've had the Soleil Crocs. There is a space for these, and I think certainly if we lived in a slightly hotter climate, of which I do not, it is grey and raining and pretty miserable. This shoe would be incredibly impractical, but I appreciate the innovation, and I think it has a place, and I think as long as, like I say, if they're comfortable,
Hmm.
they're not kind of getting too dirty too quickly, and they're reasonably robust, then yeah, there will be people that buy them. And yeah, I say when we come to these end of year lists, I always say, like, we focus so highly on retro models and stuff that when we do see
Yeah.
a bit of innovation, I give it a little bit more
Hmm.
kind of credence in that respect. So yeah, I gotta appreciate these.
Yeah, the innovation I feel has been a little bit of a marker of Adidas this year. I think in an overall sense that Adidas has done a fair bit of pushing the boundaries of what they have kind of been able to make. And I think that this model has a ton of potential. Like, you could do gradient colorways, you could do different kind of materials on the upper, like with the lace things, like you could put some suede, maybe some leather, premium it up a little bit, maybe put a little bit of extra panels on it. Like, there's so many things you could do with this. And I really like it. Like, it feels great. And if you have actually worn them, you will understand kind of how good they feel. So now I'm very happy with these being at my number 8 spot. But your number 8 was a shoe that I'm not hugely familiar with, but this was the Offspring ZX. Is this the right? I'm going to let you take it from here, because this one was literally probably the first time I saw this.
Are we at number 8 or are we at number 9?
Oh, you're number 9. Sorry. Sorry,
We're
we're
number
at number
9.
9.
So
Sorry, my bad.
the number 9 was the Atmos ZX 8000,
Oh, sorry.
the G Snake Hydra.
Yes.
There has been a very good Offspring pair. That is an honourable mention. I do have the Offspring pair, the Mighty Sneakers Offspring collaboration.
That's where I was getting at. Sorry, the Offspring ZX.
So yeah, excellent. But yeah, the Atmos ZX 8000, the G Snake in the Hydra colorway. This one is one of those where it's a long-standing collaboration. You know, they've been doing this since around 2011, I think. And basically, yeah, it stands for glow in the dark snake. And yeah, basically what they originally did was took a very classic colorway of the ZX and one of the ZX models, and basically put this glow in the dark effect over the top of it. So when it did glow in the dark, it turned the whole shoe into this kind of snakeskin effect, and it became a massive collector's piece. But they've continued to do more and more and more and more of these kind of year on year. They are Atmos exclusives. You can't get them anywhere else. So every year that they come up, they're obviously a bit of a pain to get hold of, or very expensive to get hold of, depending on where you are. But yeah, they this year they took the classic Hydra colorway and did that on it, and I think there hasn't been loads of ZXs across the year. We've seen quite a few in the past couple of months. The AMG ZX 8000s that they did, 8500, sorry, in the grey, and then they did a red and black, which were beautiful. Quality of them incredible. The Mitre that we've seen. There's been a few others that have been teased, but I think the Atmos G Snake is just the one that I saw the most hype around, and the one that most Adidas kind of collectors were really like, right, you know, we need to get these again. So it is tricky. I think that the lower end of this list is, you know, you can kind of change so many different pairs around, and it kind of comes down to personal preference, really. But yeah, I think anything Atmos Adidas is always good. So yeah, these snuck in at 9.
Well, this one, actually, if you can have a look on the screen now, I do have I just pulled it up, the snakeskin kind of pattern on it. So, you know, this one actually has a different, almost completely different look when you put it in the dark. Like, that's really cool. I love, you know, I'm glad that you've kind of opened my eyes to that, because that's pretty cool. Like, you got the glow in the dark kind of bits, you got the little snakeskin patterns on the front, and yeah, like if you can see the difference between the non-glow in the dark and the glow in the dark like state of it. No, I really do appreciate what they've done there. So no, that's pretty cool. So yes, we were at number 9. Apologies for missing out on that one, but yes, we are at number 9. So now number 8 for myself. Of course, guests go first on this podcast. So at number 8 for myself was a shoe that I probably, in retrospect, could have put a little bit higher. It's purely for me the main colorway, which was the Piggy Runner shoe from Unheard Of brand based in Cincinnati, Ohio. I'm sure if you are watching this, you might already know about the Adidas collab with Unheard Of brand. These were just super solid. I think one thing that also pegged it down for me a little bit was the unavailability here in Australia. Again, we're talking regional shoes. Like, you are in the UK, I'm in Australia, and this had no chance of getting over to Australia. And that might have, if I had this in hand, I might have experienced it like other people have on Instagram and YouTube, people who have promoted this shoe, I may have loved it even more, but I didn't. And I mean, I do love the colorway. I do love the story around it. I love the way the Unheard Of brand, and you might see them a little bit later as well in the list. But this is sitting pretty comfortably at number 8 for me. What do you think about the placement of this one?
I mean, spoiler, I think it's a bit low. But I mean, I'm a big fan of this shoe. I think I'm a sucker for a pink shoe. So this was always up there. But I think I I was amazed at the amount of hysteria around this shoe and the amount of people that were clamoring for this shoe. Bearing in mind, this was at the beginning of the year, so we had the likes of like the Bread Jordan ones
Yeah.
and that type of thing releasing around a very similar time. And for Adidas, a very limited Adidas pair from with Unheard Of kind of garnering the amount of attention that it was, and people really being like, "I need this pair, I need this pair." And it super limited. Not we couldn't have got it in the UK either, but I think it was so well done. The release was well done. The activations, the details, the boxing, the model itself is one that they're clearly pushing. And this was kind of the first instance of kind of bringing it into the forefront. And I think they absolutely nailed it. And yeah, this is a pair that if I can ever find a pair in my size, they'll probably end up in the collection because it's just, I love an Adidas runner. And it's coming in a beautiful pink colorway, so that's already that's two tick boxes. And then when you add in that it's super limited, of course, why wouldn't I want a super limited shoe? So
the boxes,
I really do like it.
The unboxing experience was pretty cool. Like that
very.
That was very cool. Some of the it's kind of similar story with the West NYC. Like some of the photography and the promotional material around it was almost as cool as the shoe, and I think that plays a big part. And obviously brands have kind of, I feel like, tapped into a lot of social media influencers with their photography or videography or reviews and such, and I think that's really cool that can drive a lot of consumer recommendations, I suppose. Like if your favorite influencer says, "Hey, I love this shoe," you're probably more likely, if you like that person, to go and buy that shoe. And I think that a lot of brands understand that. So it's really, really cool. So this one was my number 8. Your number 8 was, we sort of spoke about before, the Spezial FC in the Rowley colorway, I believe. Now, speak to me a little bit what Rowley is, the significance of that. I love this shoe. I actually really do love the colorway of this one. So what kind of appeals to it for you?
So a little bit with this. So the Rowley is the model of the shoe. So it's the Adidas Spezial Rowley. Now, if anyone that doesn't know what Spezial and Adidas Spezial is, and I know this is kind of where we said about the handball Spezial and this, and sometimes I get a bit confused, but it's a brand created by a guy called Gary Aspen, who a massive Adidas kind of head, so to speak. And he has this lovely niche brand within Adidas that produces, can I call it terrace footwear? I guess it kind of is. A lot of it you will see very much football inspirations and things like that. But what he predominantly does is he goes through the archives and pulls out, special Adidas shoes that have never seen the light of day and tries to bring them into the modern day. And that's quite difficult because basically what ends up happening is, the tooling has changed. A lot of the time these shoes are so old that they don't even have the machines to be able to make the tooling and the overlays and the midsoles and stuff anymore. So he kind of tries to bring them into the modern day and tries to update them for the market. And that's kind of where this shoe has come from. So the Rowley is actually a completely new model. It's not one that we've seen other than from this year. So there's been a couple of iterations, but basically there was a shoe a while back called the Wally Spezial, and there was, again, the issues with tooling and the ability to actually make the shoe. They decided, right, we're going to create something new, and came up. So They've done it with like the Gazelles. They did a Special Gazelle as well, where they kind of made different iterations to it. But basically, yeah, the upper had to change, which kind of made it gave it a different look. And then they've kind of put their own spins on it based on other archival models and give it the colorway. So the initial colorway was kind of this lovely navy with kind of gum sole, but the one that they did as part of the Special FC line, as you mentioned, inspiration comes in. They did this beautiful grey pair, which is just absolutely stunning. I've got a pair from last year, part of the Adidas Consortium Cup, the Samba from Offspring, and it's a very similar colorway. So I've got to save money somewhere. So if there's already a lovely grey shoe, I'm trying not to double up. But yeah, this one. They worked alongside the team in Germany to kind of create these kind of shoes inspired by different football teams, and they kind of started off with the grey palette as kind of a general Special FC release, but they've done numerous iterations. They did one for Aston Villa Football Club that was in kind of the claret colorway. They did a Newcastle, which was in kind of black and white with kind of the contrast stitching, and then they did a Celtic pair as well, which is kind of in different green and sail iterations. And they're beautiful shoes. The quality of them is incredible. The general release, like if you follow Gary Aspen on Instagram, the amount of detail he goes into to tell you about how these shoes came about, why they came about, why they're different to this. They've done like a Special Samba and a Special Gazelle, and everyone goes, "Well, what's the difference?" And he will tell you the micro details as to why this is different. And this is where we start nerding out, because you know, for most people, they'd go, we don't care, it looks the same, it's fine. But yeah, a shout out, kind of like say Gary Aspen, and also there's a guy called Danny who runs a YouTube and Instagram page called the Annex.
Sneaker Annex,
yeah, that's the one. Yeah, again, one from back in the day, and he always does amazing reviews on the Special pairs. And as of recording, there was a Special drop yesterday morning, and I've kind of avoided them so far, but the clothing's always good. But there's a couple of pairs on there, the New York 2s, which I think have sold out in a lot of places.
I've got them on screen now. If you can
really
sort of
good.
see
there you go. Yeah, the New York 2s.
Munchin.
You know, the Munchins. Yeah, the Samoa 2s. There's a few. So you can see kind of the styling and where they're kind of going with it. But the clothing in particular is always amazing and probably sells out quicker than the shoes do. But it's funny because, you know, we've been to a couple of events in the UK, and we've had me, Prozek, and Erkin, and like I say, they're kind of more on the Nike side, and I'm kind of more Adidas. But we go around, and they always look at the guys, and we'll be talking to them. Especially, we went to an event called Laces Out up in Liverpool, and it's a very 95 and Adidas heavy event. Being kind of up north, Manchester, Liverpool way, it always kind of was going to be. And both of them came out and they went, "Man, them Adidas guys just looked so good." They're like the clobber, the shoes, like it's one thing that Adidas, and nobody can deny it, and I don't even think Erkin would kind of deny it in this sense, is that their clothing is so good as well to go with the shoes. They're so well done, and the Special ranges. They do a couple of drops a year normally, kind of an autumn winter drop and a spring summer drop. Yeah, but they are and then there's normally a couple of kind of special ones in between. But they're over in the UK, they're massive. Like the events are huge. They're just so well done, and like I say, the Rowley is one that I personally loved, but also talking to people that love the terrace kind of footwear, they've said that the Rowley is by far their favourite of the year. So it felt right to kind of include in a top 10 list.
They do great, work with also Oasis, classic Adidas shirts, classic like Clot. We were speaking about him before. Great collection of clothing, almost better than the shoes, in my opinion. So, you could,
Yeah, oh yeah,
yeah, you can take that into consideration. But that was your, I believe, number 8. My number
yeah.
7 shoe. This is the Adidas Gukana, which was a shoe that, I feel like has come out in a few different colorways. The yellow, there was also a red one, there was a blue one. So they've kind of gone for that large, foam stack, predominantly monochromatic colorways. These ones I've felt them in store, tried them on, haven't bought a pair, but these are very, very nice. Same foam as the which is the Lightstrike Pro, which is the Evo SL, which may come up on the list a little bit later. But this is definitely a shoe that I really like the look of. Haven't picked up yet, but maybe a sale pickup. I mean, a lot of the shoes that we've already talked about could be a sale pickup for you later on in the year, because they're definitely, a lot of them are still sitting, which I think is kind of the beauty of 2025, where a lot of shoes that are really good are still sitting. So what did you think about the Gukana as an overall shoe this year?
Yeah, I mean they are in the sale in the UK. They've already hit them. I'm not the biggest fan of this shoe. I think it's very big. It's very chunky. It doesn't do it for me. The yellow pair in particular, I just thought was a bad Lego collab. I won't lie. When I first saw it, and I thought, what is going on here? But yeah, I get where they're going with it. I think it's just the colorways have been very, very bright. You've got the bright red pair, bright yellow pair. They've really tried to stand out with this. But yeah, I think they're I think there's things that they could do with them, and I can imagine them being some really good collabs and stuff on them, and maybe kind of toning them down and bringing them in terms of comfort. I mean, when you've got that much kind of on the midsole, it can't not be comfortable. So yeah, I think they're good. And yeah, I know you said about kind of sale pairs. My list so far, just looking at it, don't try and find them in the sale, because you're not going to, because I think they've all sold out immediately. So, but yeah, this yellow pair I'm looking on Offspring, and they're already available for £100. So
there you go.
£60 off. So yeah, they're already there in nearly a full size room. So yeah, they're
nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Thanks, man. Well, thanks for the recommend. Yeah, like you're picking them up at a sort of price, and I think that consumers often do enjoy us giving them sale tips. So I know you guys do that as well on your podcast, giving people the steal of the week. So again, if you want to go and check out the Triple Up podcast, you can, of course, see the links in the description. Always put them down there, and the timestamps as well with this one. But of course, you can go and check out if you want to skip, or see what our lists are. Quickly you can kind of check through. Because I know myself, I do waffle on a little bit about sneakers, of course. This is a sneakers podcast. So, again, appreciate everybody for listening and watching along. But, Scott, your number 7 pair was the Adidas Brain Dead Brody King collaboration. This is on the Japan model, I should say. Sorry, this was a triple collaboration, so to speak. And this was a very kind of subtle colorway, obviously black and white, very classic Adidas. But what did you think, and what drew you to this being your number 7 pick?
So the Brain Dead Adidas collab was, I think, the Honor Japan model was something that I was interested in initially, because the Japan has been a very popular sneaker over here. Initially, it was a bit of a, if you know, you know. And again, it was kind of a lot of the big Adidas heads were picking up the Japan when it first released, and were like, oh my God, Japan, we haven't seen this shoe in years. It's, and then all of a sudden they started kind of mass releasing them, and now you see them in the streets as much as you do kind of a Gazelle or a Samba. But in fact, I'd probably say the Samba is the least seen shoe these days. It's kind of drifted off a little bit, but then they did this collab, and I was interested because I thought it's got flames all over it. Like, I'd quite like it, but okay. And then being a bit of a wrestling fan, as kind of we do kind of talk on the podcast, because Matt, my previous co-host, was a wrestling fan, and Prozac and Erkin are as well. And there's a wrestler called Brody King, who's this big hulking dude, and he was wearing these wrestling boots that were, Adidas 3 stripes, and you're like, what is that? And he's got the fire on them and everything, and you're like, oh man. And it turns out he was part of the Brain Dead collab. So there is a special Brody King pair, which is the one on screen. I think the pair that ended up getting released had white flames along the front as well. And it's this triple collab between kind of the rest of these were much more limited and only available via Brain Dead. as opposed to the other colorways where you had kind of the blue pair and you had the kind of reddish pair as well. But I loved it. I think the whole inspiration about kind of lucha libre wrestling, the way that it's done, they're actually, when it comes to wrestling shoes, and we say this about football shoes as well, they're generally really poorly done. Like you don't really want to wear a Man United Adidas shoe or a Arsenal Adidas shoe because they're just rubbish.
Yeah.
And it's the same with wrestling. Whenever they've done wrestling collabs, it's like they're big, they're childish, they're garish. No one wants to wear them. But these were really well done, and I think it's a good. Japan's a brilliant model. The collaboration's got a good story behind it. The release and the way they're doing it, like the fact that he's been wrestling in these shoes and promoting them in that way as well, have been really good. And yeah, kind of the blue pair were really nice. I think again they're probably going to go in the sales if they haven't already hit them.
Yeah, probably.
So, and this isn't like a slight on Adidas by any means, because as I said, I picked up shattered backboard ones for less than £100 in the UK. Like everything is hitting the sales because there's so much product this year. So I really like them, and I think they got a lot of attention and a lot of people were interested in them. So it's a tough list. It's an interesting list this year with Adidas. It's not quite as clear cut as it has been, and I think it is very much each to their own. But I appreciated this, and I think it was well done. And the Brody King in particular, the black and white, was by far the most wearable. So yeah.
And my pick, of course, I just kind of put it up there because it happened to be my number 6 pick was this colorway. I loved I actually really like the brown and the yellow one as well, but I really did like this one.
Yeah.
But yeah, very, very comfortable. I did know a couple of people who did pick them up. Myself, I didn't, but the Japan is, it's a kind of, doesn't quite look like some of the other models we were speaking about before, the Samba, Gazelle, Spezial, but it has that still low-cut Adidas vibe that a lot of people like. And they actually had a really nice premium leather brown colorway before, which I really did like. But this was my number 6 pick. Moving on to your number 6 pick, which was the not quite road street ready. We're not doing boots only summer here in Australia. It's the Bape Predator. This is a shoe that, premium to the max. Give it a whirl and explain why this was your number 6 shoe.
I mean, it's just excellent. Like I know it's kind of cheating to a degree because it's not a sneaker, but I couldn't not have this in the top 10 releases of the year because it's so damn good. I think the Predator football boot, they've done a lot of promo around it again this year, really booting it up, and that's because just general football and lifestyle culture are blended across the board. So Nike are doing it with their kind of T90. They've just released the T90 Palace drop. They've been re-retroing a lot of old kind of shirts, but Adidas have been doing so well in the football space. And then when they decided to do this Bape Adidas collab, and we're like, okay. And then they released the football boots, and there was this, and then there was a very brightly coloured kind of F50. And all of us looked at this Predator and went, oh man. Like if we were still playing now, that would be it. Like I'd be all over these. And we saw a couple of footballers rocking them and kind of playing in them, and they're just as well as a sneaker nerd, like I still love my football or soccer, whatever you want to call it. It is football. And they're just so good. They're it's hype, it's practical. They're excellent. I love them, and I wish that I still had ACLs in my knees so I could play football in these. But sadly, I do not. But I absolutely love these. And people are wearing them casually. People are wearing football boots in the streets. I mean,
bit odd.
Yeah, why not?
When they look like this, for sure. But just get the sizing right, because soccer boots definitely fit a little bit differently. But it's a very, very solid number 6 pick, and we're going to get into the top 5 for both of us. And I think there's going to be a fair few double ups, so we'll probably almost, I suppose, combine a little bit, and we'll kind of move it along because my number 5 pick is one that is a local Australian brand, the Hall Studios HSDT, Hall Studios Design Technology. They definitely had a couple of really good collabs on the ASICS pairs, the 1130s, but they've moved back rather. They had one collab with Adidas, but they've got another collaboration here with the Intimidation Low, which is a basketball sneaker. They had this one, they had a black one, and they had a friend and family like lime green colorways. Yeah. And I picked these ones up, and man, they are very, very comfortable. The ankle opening is a little bit too much I like my shoes a little bit tight. I like them not tight around the feet, around the toes, but I like them, nice and solid. These had a little bit of extra room, but I just love the styling so much. I love I suppose, Australian brands. I love supporting Australian brands, so buying anything Hall Studios is great. Other brands that haven't collabed with Adidas, like Up There, those sort of brands and stores, I really love supporting all those. So this was awesome, and I love all the colorways they did. And you can probably, again, like we said before, pick up this pair on sale or even still sitting for retail right now. So if you're interested in, again, the Hall Studios Intimidation Low, ex-basketball sneaker turned into a lifestyle model, man, I just love the way these look. And again, the promo images, the marketing were really, really cool on this one. Had a fun time taking photos, doing videos with this one as well. So I guess what was your kind of overall take? Because I know this one isn't quite on your list.
No, not on my list. But I do like the shoe. I think I do quite like the model itself, and I think, especially if we're looking at the colorway that's on screen, it's it's clean, it's simple, it's easy, and it's the type of basketball shoe that you can wear casually, which I don't think we don't get the Jordan 1s and the Jordan 3s of the world anymore, where they're basketball shoes that are lifestyle ready. They're so technologically advanced now that they're really only for court. I know people try and rock things like the AE1 and AE2 kind of casually and stuff, and whether you think that works or not is up to you. But I like this. I like the collaborations. I think Hall Studios have done some really good collaborations over the years. Anyway, and I think I really like it. It's just not one that hit the UK at all. We never really saw anything of it, and it just didn't really come into the thinking. But I do like it, and it's actually probably something I'd wear. So I think it's a good pick.
Thinking of the Adidas kind of basketball scene, of course they did have the AE1 last year, but the AE2 has come out. It's kind of gone a little bit under the radar, a little bit. I think, to be honest, I think it's a colorway dependent shoe. I think that the Georgia Peach, the initial one that they had, not great. They had a blue one, but one I really want would be like an all black or an all white kind of sneaker. And again, go half size up if you're going to wear it for lifestyle. Same with kind of with the AE1. It's very tight, obviously being a basketball sneaker. Then you think of like the James Harden shoes, the Donovan Mitchell shoes. So they have definitely improved their basketball line, but it's interesting to see the rise of I suppose it is with a collaboration, but a retro basketball model on this list for my number 5. But your number 5 was the Adidas Birmingham. Give me a little bit of a rundown. Again, a Special model. Give me a little bit of a rundown as to why this hit your number 5 spot.
Yeah, I think you looking at the list, you can see that where the UK market is in terms of this. There's a few more terrace style shoes in this list. The Adidas Birmingham. So it's part of the Size City Series collection. So they've done 3 different City Series collections now, all incredibly limited, all based around 6 different cities around the country. They did the original set, which were incredibly limited and were proper collector's pieces. Then in 2020, they did a second lot. Basically, they created the twin to the original shoes. So, for example, you had the Manchesters that were original, and then you had the twin shoe, town that was twinned with them, which was the Cordoba. And the Cordoba goes down as probably one of the greatest Adidas terrace shoes of all time, let alone kind of just within that. And they were limited to one of 2020 pairs. So they were very, very limited. I have got a pair of Cordobas sat around there somewhere that I was very lucky enough to get. And then this year they've come back with the third iteration of the City Series, and they've gone back and tried to kind of reimagine the original pairs. So one of the cities within there is the Birmingham. And the original Birmingham was based around kind of the Cadbury's purple. So for anyone that kind of isn't aware, in kind of Bourneville, where the kind of Cadbury's factory is, very very near Birmingham, was very much synonymous with the city, and they created these shoes that were these beautiful purple colorway with the Birmingham script down the side, in this somewhat humble Spezial style of shoe. And then this year they kind of revisited and they took a different spin on it. They looked down the music route and they picked a band that is again synonymous with Birmingham. And Birmingham, from where I live, is just up the road. And they picked the iconic metal band that is Black Sabbath. And that is where the colors of this shoe come from. It comes from their iconic albums, kind of the black with that kind of maroony, pinky color. They did murals in the city. They created, for friends and family, special Black Sabbath pairs that were customized specifically and presented by size to each members of the band. Wow. With the Tony Iommi and Ozzy Osbourne, etc. And then lo and behold, only weeks later, obviously, Ozzy Osbourne had his memorial concert and then sadly passed away. So this shoe, people went mad for, one, because of what it represented as a city. And it was one of the biggest releases. The quality of the shoe is excellent. The colorway is so perfect and wearable. And then when you had kind of the scenarios and the environment that kind of came from it and what obviously happened shortly afterwards, this shoe kind of was held to even higher regards and even more sought after. And, you know, I'm, in addition to kind of sneakers, I'm very big into my music and kind of vinyl, and, you know, a big Black Sabbath fan. And speaking to people around where we live, you know, people were going in and buying up all of the Black Sabbath and Ozzy Osbourne vinyls and reselling them for mad money. People were doing the same with the Birminghams. They were buying them and trying to resell them for mad money because, you know, everyone was all of a sudden clamoring for anything that was linked with Black Sabbath. So yeah, people were kind of trying to capitalize on the situation, which is, in my opinion, kind of appalling. But this shoe is just, you can pick it up, but, you know, it's slightly over retail. It's not that much, but I just think the shoe is, I love it. I think the colorways are perfect, but also I think what it stands for and what it represents is just elevates this. And I think when we kind of look back across the year, this is one where it's not just like a sneaker release, but I think because, like I say, the timing of everything, it kind of goes down as a bit more of a cultural moment as well. So
yeah, I was going to say that.
Birmingham, this was a big one.
That's so cool, man. Like, and yeah, obviously Ozzy Osbourne had, you know, I'm going to say a long life, longer than what a lot of people thought he was going to live, because he kind of had been ill for a while. You know, in that rock era where they kind of, you know, did a lot of drugs, a lot of alcohol, and so for him to kind of see a lot of success post, I suppose, regular touring was really good, and to kind of the city of Birmingham to pay homage to him was really, really cool. And this shoe, for sure, man, I think it definitely epitomizes their look, their vibe. It's a great marriage between the band, the city, and Adidas. So this is a great shoe, man, and that's a great number 5 pick. Moving on, we actually both had this as our number 4 shoe, was the Bad Bunny, another musical artist. Adidas and musical artists really had a really good year, actually, in 2025, speaking also of the Oasis collaboration. But Bad Bunny, the Super Bowl halftime show, the Puerto Rican native rapper, singer, songwriter, he had a Gazelle collection, which included a orange colorway, a green colorway, and I think your number 4 pick was also the Cabo Rojo colorway, so more of a pinky off kind of subtle red colorway. Suppose I'll kind of go a little bit first. The first one was called the El Yunque, which is kind of a homage to the greenery of his native island of Puerto Rico. He's had previous collabs, the same model but different colorways. He had a blue one, which I have picked up, was a homage to some of the cobblestones in his native, the capital city of Puerto Rico. So and this one, this Cabo Rojo, I think it links back to the sunset or the sky over his in a sunset, in Puerto Rico. So I think that the way that he ties in the sneakers to his music, to his family, to his homeland is really, really cool. And Bad Bunny has kind of been a force to be reckoned with for a very long time. He's getting his own sneaker silhouette soon. So give us a little bit of rundown as to why you kind of love what he did with this shoe.
I love Bad Bunny Adidas collaborations. Full stop. I think they're excellent. They are what collab should be in terms of different, pushing the boundary, but still kind of somewhat keeping it mainstream and palatable for the market. There's a story about me kind of getting the Bad Bunny Response CL, his first release, about a year early than it was meant to drop. A complete accident, but I ended up all over Complex's feeds and getting messages from people like Sean Wotherspoon and Brendan Dunn and Joe LaPuma saying like, where did you get this shoe, how did you get this shoe, etc. And
well, go on, give the people a little bit of a rundown. Sure, that's the short version, because I'm sure you could elaborate, but that's something that people want to know.
Basically, it was I was working on around Christmas, and the Boxing Day sales were happening, and I was just scrolling down a retailer in the UK. I think I can name them now because they no longer exist. A brand in Scotland called Hannon. Did some amazing pairs, amazing collaborations, but always had amazing sales. And I went onto the website and just clicked, and as I was scrolling through, I saw this pair of shoes, and I was like, what are these? And I clicked on them, and they were the original Bad Bunny Response CLs in the cream colorway. And I was like, that's strange. And I bought them because I thought, if I get them, I'll just have a look at them, maybe do a little bit of kind of content, and then just send them back. And I got them, and they were beautiful, absolutely incredible. And I posted pictures, and then I kind of got a bit of an email from Hannon being like, you shouldn't have those. Apologies, it was an error on our part.
Oh.
Can you send them back? And I was like, well, no. And I posted up a video and pictures, and immediately I got bombarded by people asking, what are these? Where'd you get them from? How'd you get them? Because they'd been rumored and they'd been teased like really dodgy pics and stuff, and I had them in hand. And yeah, it turns out they didn't release for like another year after I got them, and people were absolutely clamoring. And like I say, the people that were in my DMs, people from Adidas being like, how did you get these? Where are you? Like I say, people like Sean Wotherspoon appearing in my DMs, who was with Adidas at the time, going, what? And I'm there like, well, if you don't know, I don't know. I don't know what's going on here. But no, they were amazing. But I just think, kind of going back to these ones, I mean, I've got the white and black pair, the Gazelles, which I love, get a lot of wear. I think these ones, again, the colorways are beautiful. The pink one is the one that we had over here. We didn't really kind of get the others. But I just think they're all good. I think the fact that, people are trying to sell fakes of his shoes outside of his concerts shows the cultural impact he's having. And regardless of what people think, like, he is the biggest collaborator for one of the biggest and fastest growing brands in the market. Like, you've got to put some respect on that, and this is a big part of it, because over here, the Bad Bunny campuses and the Travis Scott Jordan 1 lows go hand in hand. The people that are wearing the Travis Scott Jordan 1 lows are also rocking Bad Bunny campuses, and if that's the company you're keeping in terms of what people want, like, that's not bad. Like, so you've got to, whether you kind of like him or not, and whether you like his music or not, he's doing big things. And like, he's got an AMG racing pair, and I've seen people in the UK that are Nike through and through. They would never touch an Adidas in their life, but the F1 and the racing's got quite big over here. They now have a pair of Bad Bunny AMG Adidas shoes in their collection because of what they are. So, if he's making people even jump ship to other brands, it shows the pulling power and shows what he's doing. And do I agree with his like ballerina shoes and
No.
kind of the like say the Adi Racer and all of these ones? No, I don't. But at the same time, ballerina shoes are massive in the UK now, and they're big in America as well. Who was the first person to put out the ballerina shoe in kind of in that respect? He is kind of dictating where the market goes between him and Wales Bonner. They're really kind of they're really steering the market in the direction that they want them to go. So yeah, the influence is unquestionable.
Yeah, he's a great like force, and of course the weight of his audience is going to push these shoes further and further. And I hope he continues to put out really awesome pairs. And I think his latest, like the one that he is going to be owning, as in his own silhouette, looks really cool. So I'm excited to see some more stuff.
I'm excited to see that one
from Bad Bunny. And I think the next one, which we can kind of talk both on, I think this was my number 3 shoe, was the Evo SL. I have one colorway of these, going to be basically my summer beater because they're light, they're breathable, they kind of look good when they're beaten up a little bit, like they're running shoes. They're meant to be kind of worn. I mean, I like to keep my shoes a little bit clean, so I'll probably wipe them off afterwards, but I won't let them get too dirty. But again, you can probably pick up some of these on sale soon. And these, I don't know, they've kind of been the general release darling. So do you think this shoe has kind of been the epitome of the mass market appeal of some of Adidas shoes this year?
Yeah.
Yeah?
I think not only have they kind of gone mass market, but they've really put effort into certain areas of the industry and certain markets, and tried to kind of position themselves a bit better. And the running market is one of them. I think traditionally people think of like the Nike Pegasus or like Vomeros, things like that. Obviously New Balance running shoes, Saucony, Asics, Hoka, On Running, all of these different brands that traditionally there. But the Evo SL, there was a big push for it. And, there was lots of influencers getting them and or content creators, etc. And then people kind of realized that this shoe is really good. And all of a sudden it's everywhere and everybody's wearing them. And I know people that, again, everyone's running. I mean, I've just hit my 30s, therefore I've now by law got to get into running. And I've got a pair of Evo SLs and I love them.
Yeah.
They're so comfortable. One of my good friends, Ryan, who's a good friend of the podcast as well, is a huge runner, like massive kind of marathon runner. And he always talks to me about running shoes and the differences between them and the technology that goes into them. And he's like, for the money, the technology they put in this shoe for the money is crazy. Basically, the only thing it's missing is a carbon plate. And they do have that in some of the models like the Adios, etc. But, for the quality of them and what you get for them, they're 10 out of 10. They're, I mean, we can kind of, these are on my list, but they're higher because I think they are the best and the shoe that I've seen the most of this year. And this is a running shoe, and I've seen more of it this year than I have most lifestyle shoes. So it's impeccable, and I've got a pair, and I absolutely love them for lifestyle and for actual running. So they're brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
Well, that one was my number 3. No, was it my? I think I just messed it up. But this, sorry, it was my number 3. We're up to 3.
Yeah,
it's hard to keep list. It was my number 3. It was your number 2. So
my number 2.
Your number 2. But your number 3 shoe, Scott, was one that we already talked about before, which was the Adidas Piggy Runner in collaboration with Unheard Of brand. This is the other colorway. This was actually a friends and family colorway, so I wanted to put a little bit of different colorway. They did have a blue one, they had a pink one, and then they had this one that had the blue with the pink stripes. So kind of a mishmash of all of the two colorways there. But give me a little bit, I know you spoke about it a little bit before, but what's, I suppose, more of the appeal of this shoe for you?
Again, like I said, I'm a sucker for a pink shoe. I've got way too many of them in the collection, and I need to keep telling myself not to buy more pink suede shoes because they all kind of look somewhat similar. But Yeah, I just think the release of these, the hype that was garnered by it, the way Adidas handled it as a release, and the way that the market responded to it, I think was exceptional. And the fact that, at the time people were saying, like, when we get to the end of the year, this is going to be in my top 10. Like, that's a big statement to make for an Adidas shoe in particular. And, I know it won't get into many people's top tens when we're doing like a general top 10, because there's been so many amazing releases from other brands as well. But I think, yeah, I really love the shoe. I love the release. I love the details. Like I say, the unboxing experience and everything. They paid real special attention to it. So I just think, for what it did in the market compared to, say, some of the others, when I think of there's probably shoes on here that I would say are maybe better, more wearable, but the market didn't respond in the same way that it did to these. And I think you've got to take that as somewhat of an indicator that, people were really clamoring for these and people still want them now. And, the resale value on them and stuff. Not that we should take resellers necessarily the biggest indicator of things all the time, but it does show what people are willing to pay and what they're looking for. So I just think these, as a release this year, I think this is one of Adidas's best.
And I think there's one shoe that we have not yet talked about, which I think people can kind of already guess if you already know what has been going on this year. You, at number 2, as we kind of spoke about before, you had the Evo SL. We've spoken about those.
Yeah.
Myself, my number 1. This was a shoe that, again, in the same brand, it's an unheard of brand shoe with Adidas. It's the Rivalry Low, the Grandma's Couch. This is a shoe that had it's called the Dear Naomi. So basically it's a homage to Philip Lipschutz's grandma, who was the founder of Unheard of brand, obviously. And man, I don't know what it is about this shoe. Again, it's a pink suede shoe, so it's right up your alley, which I was actually surprised when you spoke about that. You didn't have this on your list, but yeah, the Piggy Runner and this one kind of came out in very close conjunction. They also had another pair, which was the Rivalry Low. It's in, what was it? The FC Cincinnati collaboration. So mainly blue and orange sneaker. But this one here, this Grandma's Couch, I think the thing that kind of tipped it over the edge for me to be number 1 over the shoe, which we will talk about in a moment, which was your number 1, is just the story. I love the story, like the personal touches, how, my touches with my grandma, like people like, the specialness that family holds in a lot of people's lives, and the way that a lot of the community rallied around this shoe, and also the other shoes that he's done in the same sort of vein in the Grandma's Couch colorway. It's kind of the calling card of Unheard of brand is the family ties or the community ties, and I think that's really, really cool. And I think if no one else is going to put them at their top spot, why not me? And I think that this is definitely a shoe that resonated with me a lot, with the family aspect, but also just it was really cool colorway. Again, the unboxing, really cool box. It's like this big square wooden box with a latch, almost like a musical jukebox type thing. Really cool. Any thoughts on this one? And do you think it's deserving of my top number 1? And we will get to your 1 in a moment.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite the shoe.
Yeah.
It's a very bold, bright shoe. I'm not a fan of the Rivalry Low as a model.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the basketball shoes, these retro basketball shoes, should we say, just don't really do it for me. But I think, again, the pink suede, as you mentioned, is that I think it's just a very bright, bold, but I do think, again, the touches on it, the story that came with it, and the packaging, it doesn't take much to just add these little details to some of these releases. And we always say when we get all these releases, it's like, couldn't you have just done like a nice box? Like, you've done this really special collaboration. Couldn't you have just done this? Couldn't you just add in another pair of laces? It's not going to take much, is it? And Adidas do that and have done that consistently across the year. And yeah, I like these. There's obviously loads of different colorways. The kind of, like I say, the green one, and kind of the ugly couch, as they called it. So there's a few. I think the pink is by far the best.
Yeah,
by far.
Yeah.
And I do really like it. It's again, it's just one that, from a UK perspective, we just didn't really see or hear much about at all. Which, I follow a lot of people that are really big Adidas heads and all this, and there's been some releases recently. There's like a clam chowder collaboration with, name escapes me off the top of my head, and there was another one, was the Diamond in the Rough Gazelle that came from America as well, with the kind of the black overlays. And these are pairs that we've seen people go, oh my god, these are really limited. We're going to get them, and these just kind of didn't really appear. So it was. Yeah, when I was putting the list together, it just didn't. I kind of brainstormed all of the shoes that I could think of, and then kind of went, "Is there any I'm missing?" And these just didn't really factor into it. So but I think they're deserving of being on a top 10 because they're a very well done collaboration and pair. So
yeah. Well, we'll move quickly on to your number one because I feel like this is going to garner a lot of discussion. This is your number one. Of course, it's the Adidas Jellyfish. I mean, I think I did skip over these. These were actually my number 3 shoe. I did skip over them because I wanted to give you as much runway to be able to take off on this shoe as possible, because obviously the Jellyfish, if you don't know already, it was the kind of reinterpretation of the Adi Star from Adidas by Pharrell, who's obviously well-renowned, collaborated with Adidas at this point. He's done an incredible amount of work, and this retooling, which we first saw around the Paris Fashion Week in February, roughly around then, we saw them in the orange. We've seen them in by now, released in a blue, green, and a grey colorway, so pretty much they're interchangeable, mostly white with a little bit of color, but this original, I suppose, orange one is the one that everyone's going to kind of point to. The colorways I don't feel like matter a huge amount. When they're mostly white, it's kind of interchangeable with the colors. People are going to want it because of the silhouette, they're going to want it because of the hype, they're going to want it because of the resale value. So I mean, this is going to be on a lot of people's top 10 lists, and it's going to be one of the shoes that 2025 is remembered the most for, I think. So they're already releasing a bootleg version, for goodness sakes, the Adidas guys. They're already releasing the squid, as some people are calling them. So I suppose why did this deserve your number one spot so far?
A bit kind of, I guess, between the Evo SLs and these, it was a bit of a toss-up as to what I put as number one. And I say that for different reasons, because the Evo SL is the most worn, the most spoken about, and the most seen Adidas shoe of this year by a considerable distance. But when we're looking at this space in particular, the Jellyfish is one that people have been speaking about almost since last year. Like, people have been like, there's been like little inklings and little like murmurs about this shoe, and no one's ever really seen it. And then when the original images came out, everyone lost their minds. They were like, we need this. We need it. This is it. And there are so many people, again, that want this shoe that normally either wouldn't wear Adidas or, you wouldn't expect to kind of like this type of shoe. But the amount of hype it's garnered, the amount of attention it's brought to Adidas, how limited it is. Okay, the price point can be debated. It's 250 Great British pounds, which it's a lot of money. But then again, when we talk about this, Jordan 1s are coming in around 170 pounds. Jordan 4s are coming in around 200 to 220 pounds, depending on the collaboration. So are they that much more than some of the others? Not really. I think it's just because people are probably less willing to pay that much money for an Adidas pair, whereas Nike, basically, they can shove any retro model in front of us at any price and people will buy it. That's why I call it the cult of Nike. But it's Adidas. I think the price point will put a lot of people off, but I think the design of it, what they've done to it, they've done something different. I know it is a take on a retro model, but they've really made this shoe something different. And they're going to do a takedown model, which I think is a mistake, but fine. That's the reason I'm not employed by Adidas. They've done amazing work with this shoe. The drops have been super limited. There's been a couple now. I think we've had the OG orange pair. Then we've had a blue, a green, and I don't know if the grey has dropped. Some combination.
I've seen
of
a lot of
dropped.
it.
But they're all super limited. All super limited. You can't get your hands on them. And nobody's gone moaned about them that there's been so many drops of these, because even though there's been 4 drops of them, no one's been able to get their hands on them really.
Yeah, exactly.
There's been a few people that have managed to get them through Offspring in the UK, but they're kind of a London pickup, and it makes it quite difficult sometimes for people like myself who are a bit further out to kind of access them. But everyone that's got them says the quality's amazing. They look brilliant. Yes, they are a chunky shoe. They kind of follow more in the Balenciaga line. I think they're like 6 inches wide or something crazy. And again, I'm a size 11 UK, so anything that makes my feet look bigger is going to be a bit of a challenge.
Yeah.
But they've just been excellent, and it feels like people are hating on for the sake of hating on them. Like, you just got to respect that they've made a really good shoe. They've made something different, and they've made something that everybody wants. Like, everyone is clamoring for. Like, I can't think of. There's not many anyway, kind of releases that have been so hyped, so limited that people are so desperate to get their hands on. If we're talking about people going crazy and wanting them, it's in the same realm as Nigel Sylvester. Like, people that want them that much, and I'm not saying it's as good as the Nigel Sylvester by any means. Don't kind of take me that way, because I think they're both amazing in their own rights. But people, this is the biggest hyped release of the year for Adidas, and they've managed it spectacularly. And the takedown model, the squid, as you say, the initial images, I was like, oh, don't do this. But then there was a couple of images from, can't remember who it was from off the top of my head, but they were at Adidas, kind of looking at some of the Adistar models that were coming in the next year. Some of them are awful. They've gone very down. They've gone down the Windows 10 metallic line, which is sad. But then they've also got kind of, like, say, some really good models, takedown models of like the jellyfish and stuff. And if that's the style that people are liking, and I think this is it. This is them kind of guiding the market again, because they guided everyone to the classics and the retro kind of models.
Very true.
But that chunk, if we're going in cycles, that chunky sneaker trend is coming back soon. Yeah. And if they're going to start it off with this, like, whether people like it or not, this could be the next kind of trendsetter. And I really like them. And I think what they've done for Adidas this year and putting them on the map for people.
Yeah.
They haven't been on the sneakerhead radar. Adidas has not really been on the sneakerhead radar this year. I don't think they've tried to be either. But then all of a sudden they've kind of kicked the doors in and gone, here we are again. And they made the complex list, and they should be there, because they are very, very well executed collaboration.
Yeah, I think it's one of those, I will eventually get my hands on it. I think once the sort of initial hype goes down, and there may be a slightly used pair or something like that. I just think that, again, the price point is very high. But yeah, it's one of those, I feel like I won't be complete until I get a pair of these in terms of being a sneakerhead. Just, I mean, it feels like a landmark kind of moment, especially for Adidas, with that huge chunky aesthetic, just the size of them, the presence of them. And I feel like it's definitely going to be a neck breaker. If you walk around with one of these, people are going to notice. People are going to see you and be like, what the heck are those?
Yeah, I think we also, people need to take into consideration, like, when you look at shoes and when you look at the construction of shoes, and again, say if we use the Nigel Sylvester, they're a brilliant shoe, but the construction of the shoe is a orange/red suede Jordan 4. That's it. Yeah. Like, there's not really anything to it. When you look at the construction of this shoe and the amount of parts that kind of are molded onto it, and the way that it's constructed, I mean, you think from a manufacturing process, it must be an absolute nightmare.
Yeah.
And you think there is a lot of work that has gone into this, and they've really allowed Pharrell to really go to town on this, because I don't think there's many people that would be able to, at any brand, do what they do. And I think they've done it really, really well. I mean, just looking, the last sold size in my size on StockX is just over £1,000 resale. So that's not going to go down anytime soon with the orange pair.
Yeah, no.
Even the other pairs. I mean, looking at the grey pair, last sold £961. The green pair last sold £780. Let's have a look at the blue pair, £1,052.
I really want to meet the
That's
person who has £1,000 to.
yeah.
I've got a bridge to sell them. So
Yeah, but that is that's four different releases. That's four different colorways.
Yeah.
What shoe have you seen this year that has released four different colorways and can still garner over or nearly £1,000 resale on every single one? And I'll tell you for a fact, if they released four different colorways of the Nigel Sylvester fours, they are not all reselling for £1,000. Like I'd bet my house on it.
No.
They've really managed this really well, and people will argue one way or the other. Feel free, DM me, I'll have a chat. But you've just got to accept, like, when another brand does something really well, they do it really well, and brands are allowed to do well. Other brands, if Adidas didn't do this, what's pushing Nike to do better next year? What's pushing other brands to innovate and do this? Because there's not loads of innovation. This is innovation. This is something different. We're seeing what other brands could potentially do. Nike could take this same idea and concept and slap it on a 95 or a 1 or a 97 or and do something different with it. I'm just very, very impressed with not only the shoe, but the way it's been handled and managed as a release.
What a time. What a list. This is literally the longest podcast we've done on the Best Foot Forward Shoes podcast. So
I feel like I get that record on every podcast I go on.
So no, it's not because of you. I just think that this is, it garners a lot of discussion, and glossing over certain shoes feels like a disservice to some shoes. But I feel like giving a lot of props to certain shoes, like the Unheard Of brand as a whole, the Evo SL, the Jellyfish, and of course, some of the other models which we've spoken about. Again, they deserve a lot of shine, and Adidas has had, a very good year. And I'm excited to, for people to watch this and for people to comment on it and perhaps, make their own lists. I'd love to hear your comments. Again, you said DM you, chat about it. Anyone, just DM me. We can chat about sneakers. It's what we do. We love talking about it, of course. And it's, not that serious. It's sneakers. We're not talking about life or death here. So again, man, I really do appreciate you jumping on, giving us all your insight, your different perspective. And again, if you want to see any of Scott's Instagram or his work on the Triple Dot podcast, the links are down in the description below. Any other shout outs you want to do, man, before we head off for the evening? It's been an amazing hour and a half chatting about sneakers, about Adidas, top 10 lists. It's that time of year. We're getting, very close towards Christmas. 7 weeks till Christmas. It's crazy. I can't believe it. And I just said that, but any other sort of shout outs you want to kind of give? Anything? What else have you got going on in your sneakers life, promotional aspects?
Yeah, I mean, at the moment, obviously, Triple Dot podcast drops every Tuesday, kind of UK time. It's just, us, me, Erkin, at Erkin Hassan, or Life of a Broski, or whatever other million channel he's got at this point. Yeah, Broski Mon, there you go. And Big Boy Prozek.
Prophet.
You'll know Prozek at this point. He's everywhere. Kind of buying things for his wife and coming home with trainers every single time.
The Prophet.
At some point, his wife. Sometimes his wife's going to have him for that. Us just chatting about sneakers and having a bit of fun with it, and we will be, obviously everyone's diving into their top 10 lists, and what we're kind of going to be doing our take on that. The one that we do every single year is our all-star game, which is essentially kind of creating like a basketball style all-star draft where we take very much kind of a team versus team approach to picking our shoe of the year lists almost, and going at it, which is based off what the listeners kind of say are their top shoes of the list the year. We have Matt kind of the previous guest returning to defend his crown that he won last year, and kind of going for it with me, Erkin, and Prozac.
Nice.
But yeah, I think just there's so many UK creators. If you are interested in Adidas, like I say, people like the Sneaker Annex are fantastic for that. Go and follow Gary Aspen if you're interested in Adidas Special. But yeah, there's UK content. There's quite a lot of it, and we I guess we give a very different perspective wherever you're listening from compared to the Australian market. My family all live in New Zealand, so they have a very different aspect on the market as well. I always love going to New Zealand because I can pick up Nike pairs for so cheap. They don't seem to understand what the exchange rate does. Makes things so much cheaper for us. Adidas have nailed it. It doesn't matter what I buy anywhere. Adidas is the same price, but Nike,
no,
excellent.
Yeah, nice.
So yeah. It's but no, just if you kind of enjoy us dicking around essentially talking about sneakers, come give us a listen. But yeah, no, it's been great kind of coming on and talking about all these brands and kind of listening to a very different perspective on the brand of Three Stripes.
Nice.
So it's been a pleasure. And
I definitely echo those sentiments when it comes to people coming and listening to me waffle on about sneakers. Again, you can check out YouTube, Instagram, or if you're watching this podcast, you can see any of my reviews and other podcasts. So thank you so much. You know how the internet works. I do appreciate everybody again for watching. Please subscribe, like the video, rate it if you're on YouTube, if you're on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, all of those things. Again, thank you so much to Scott, and you can see all of his social links down in the description below. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you next week. Have a good day.